Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome back to Vlogmas day number 5. Today's topic is how do you handle difficult patients? So this is kind of a tricky topic, but one that I luckily don't deal with too many difficult patients in the setting that I work in, but it is so common. And I think the first thing that you really have to consider and remember as a therapist or anyone that's working with a human being is that we're all going through our own personal issues. And if someone is coming to see you as a therapist or a nurse or a doctor or for any medically professional reason, they're obviously going through something that they probably never planned on and something that's probably causing them and their family a lot of stress, emotional turmoil. I mean, whatever it is, they're seeing you because something has gone wrong in their life, and we just have to always be considerate of that. And let me tell you, working with families and working in their home and going to see them every week, you have no idea what is going on in people's lives. Let me just throw that out there. You really have no idea what is going on in people's day-to-day lives. When I worked in outpatient, I always wondered, what was going on outside of the therapy clinic that would impact this child's progress or participation in therapy. And now I know, because I go into those homes every single day, and it's heartbreaking. It is really, really heartbreaking, and it's really unimaginable what some of our clients actually go through. And I think it's more difficult to comprehend that when you're working with someone in the hospital or you're working with someone in skilled nursing, because they're just out of that context. But just know that you have no idea. I cannot tell you how many times people tell me that their mother has died, their grandmother has died, they're sick, family members are sick. There's just always something going on top of them needing therapy. So that is the first thing to consider when you're dealing with someone, when you're dealing with a difficult patient that doesn't want to do therapy. With that said, we're going to get a little bit technical here, but stick with me, okay? But when you're dealing with a difficult patient or difficult client, however you want to describe them, there's really two things that you need to keep in mind. One is that you always need to be in control. You are guiding the therapy, you're guiding the treatment, that session, and so you're in control. Don't ever let it get out of your control if you can try. And then number 2 is know your limits. So know when you need to ask for help, pretty much is what that says. If you are fearful from physical or verbal abuse, know where you draw the line and say, you know what, I have to excuse myself, I'm gonna step out. 1, so that you don't get hurt, and 2, so that you don't cross a boundary and make things worse. And that goes back to number 1 of you always being in control and not letting that patient tick you off so much that you start yelling back at them, because that would, 1, be very unprofessional, and 2, just not be your best option. With that said, you can kind of classify difficult patients into 3 different categories. So you've got the resistant/angry person, you've got the complainer, and you've got the manipulator. There might be a couple of other categories, and again, I'm not judging patients or anything like that. I'm just kind of saying it's easy to kind of categorize them, so that way you know how to better address and interact which type of patient you're interacting with. Now, when I was in OT school, we were given this book called The Intentional Relationship by Renee Taylor. I obviously still have this book, and I'm referencing it right now. I don't know if they still use this in OT school, but this is something that we all use on a day-to-day basis. We just don't realize it. Right now, we're going to talk about the intentional relationship model and therapeutic use of self. Now, those might be terms that you've heard before or you've never heard them. To some degree, we are always adapting our personalities and our behaviors dependent upon who we're interacting with. So you might act different around your grandmother. You might be a little bit more respectful. You might talk a little bit quieter. You might use different language. So to that extent, we all kind of adapt our behaviors dependent upon who we may be engaging with. And the intentional relationship model and therapeutic use of self kind of just take that to another level. It kind of just increases the awareness of how you are interacting and responding to others. I like this book, and Renee Taylor's way of kind of classifying how you would interact with those difficult types of patients. She actually gives you 6 categories on how you might interact and adapt your response to someone that is being difficult or challenging, or maybe not necessarily in a negative way, but you can tell that something else is going on in their lives and it's affecting therapy. She talks about advocating, collaborating, empathizing, encouraging, instructing, and problem solving. And I'm not going to go into detail on all those, but I just wanted to throw those out there, and saying that dependent upon who you're kind of working with and what the issue is and what your goals are, someone might need a lot of advocating. They might need someone to stand up for them, help them get resources, teach them how to advocate for themselves. They might just need encouragement. They might be going through something else personal that has nothing to do with therapy, but they need that encouragement to deal with that, or they just need encouragement to get out of bed or to continue keeping visits. You might learn that the patient really responds well to you just telling them what to do and they're going to do it. So that would be instructing. And then problem solving is really more kind of working together and figuring out how you can fix whatever problem is that they're going through. So again, that's why it's going to be so important to have the awareness of yourself and how you're interacting, but then also being aware of the type of personality of the patient that you're working with. I'm usually pretty fun and joyful and joking, but I know when I need to tone that down and be serious. If that's the feedback that I'm getting from the patient or the family, just be aware that while you might be working on a motor goal or just something very minute and specific, your interaction and your communication and the way that you engage with your patient is a part of therapy. That is a therapeutic interaction, and you just have to really remember how to use yourself therapeutically to help the client progress as much as possible. But to wrap up, how do I typically deal with difficult patients or difficult families? I'm usually one to just confront the situation and say, hey, you know what? This is what I've been noticing. This is the vibe that I'm getting from you. You can tell me if I'm wrong. But I usually like to address it up front because it's really, really hard to kind of ignore a problem that you think is going on either with yourself or your patient. And it just kind of makes it more awkward if you don't address it. So I'm always willing to address it and say, hey, you know what? I noticed you're looking a little down, or I noticed you've actually canceled the last 2 visits. Whatever it is, just confront it. I think they'll appreciate your honesty and the care that you have for them and taking interest in them as a person. I am very lucky that I haven't really been put in any dangerous or physically or verbally abusive situations. I feel like I know where my line is. And again, I'm usually by myself going out into the community, and that can make it a little bit more challenging. But if I ever feel unsafe, we have protocols in place. I can text someone where I'm going, and I can say, hey, if I don't text you in an hour, call 911. I've never had to do that ever. But I mean, if that's where it gets to, or I just bring someone else with me to the community. The first visit that we do is always 2 people, so I'm never going out usually for the first time by myself. So yes, I'm very grateful that I haven't been in that situation, but I know that a lot of healthcare professionals are abused every single day, physically and verbally, and it's a huge deal. It is a huge, huge deal. So I think that's going to be it for today. That kind of got a little bit deep there at the end, but this is something that I kind of actually take really seriously, and I think it's something that it's really hard to teach in school. Self-awareness of your personality and your demeanor and how you interact with others is something that's really hard to learn, and I'm still learning that day to day as I go and interact with new people all the time. So I just thought I would discuss that, as I know a lot of you are thinking about, being an OT or an OT school. I'm not sure if they still talk about this at all in OT school, or how much it's emphasized, the relationships that you can form with your patients. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it for today. I hope you're gaining some insight into these videos. Today was a little bit more thoughtful and engaging. So thank you for listening to me chat, and I will see you tomorrow. It's Friday, and then there's a lot going on this weekend. So get ready for some Christmas fun. We don't have our Christmas tree yet, y'all. It is December 5th, and we don't have a freaking Christmas tree. Whose fault is that? No, but we're gonna get it this weekend. We haven't had time. So hopefully we'll get our tree. We've got a brunch. We have got a Christmas party that I'm apparently co-hosting, and I've got to like make a lot of food tomorrow. So that's what's gonna be going on this weekend. I hope y'all have been having a good week so far, good December, and I'll see you tomorrow.